Self-doubt is the dream killer. If you've ever asked, can I really do this? This episode is for you. Brokers and Fran Dev people, this is killing your deals, so you better listen closely too.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profits Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, it's Don again. I'm your host for Pitfalls and Profits, Franchise Pitfalls and Profits. Today's episode is really for the person that's standing on the edge of a diving board, starting to look deeply into entrepreneurship, wondering, can I really do this? That's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. We touched a little bit about this on episode 1, but this topic really warrants a full talk just on overcoming the fears and the doubts, the personal and self-doubts that a lot of us go through, particularly at this juncture. If you're looking at a massive change in career, like moving over to buying your own business or starting your own business or buying a franchise. So, this whole topic reminds me of a man I met a few years ago. He wrote a very powerful book that was called The Right Risk. His name is Bill Treasurer. He's an author and he's really a leadership trainer and coach. Bill knows a thing or two about fear. Before he ever became a best-selling author and a consultant and an executive coach, he was, get this, a professional Daredevil diver. He literally worked as a corporate stuntman, and he would dive off of 100-foot platforms into a pool, basically. And he did this for a living. But the real leap of his life wasn't into a pool. It was into the unknown world of entrepreneurship. So he really profiles this. It's an older book, but The Right Risk is a really great book for people that are where you might be trying to grapple with, can I do this? I want to do this, but having that self-doubt that's very natural, as we talked about in our last episode. But Bill talks about the difference between foolish risk and the right risk. Foolish risks are very reckless. They're impulsive. A lot of it's ego driven. I can do this. I want to do this. I'm going to prove somebody else wrong. But the right risks, and this is really a really important point of today's episode. The right risks are aligned with our values. They're aligned with your goals. They're aligned with your vision and your purpose for life. They're still going to feel scary, but they're worth it. Isn't this really why you're considering business or franchise ownership? You have goals. You have a bigger vision for life. You have a bigger purpose for your life that business ownership and franchise ownership is going to help you achieve. So Bill shares the moment where he left a secure corporate job with a big paycheck to start his own consulting company. He had a young family, had a mortgage, all the usual reasons why we don't step off the diving board, why we don't step out of our comfort zone, why we don't step away from safety. But deep down, Bill knew that staying where he was meant sacrificing who he was, or at least who he wanted to become. That tension, the pull between comfort and calling, is what so many franchise buyers, business owners feel too. But Bill didn't have a guarantee, he didn't have any certainty. But what he had was clarity. There's that word again. I've been talking for weeks now. That word just keeps popping up in front of me. Clarity. Bill had clarity of purpose, clarity of vision, clarity of his future. And that clarity is what gave him the courage to step out. Because the risk of business ownership or franchise ownership just isn't about the investment. It's not just about the business model. It's about what you want to become in the process. This decision is so much about identity. So if you're standing on the edge right now, you're looking at the opportunity, you're wondering, do you have what it takes? Remember this, courage is not about having no fear. It's about alignment with your purpose. Courage isn't about having no fear. It's about aligning your leap with your purpose. And that's how you take the right risk. And that's what Bill's book, The Right Risk, is all about. So if you're thinking about starting a business or buying a franchise, that little voice inside of you, or, if depending on your age, or you may remember the little Jiminy Cricket Disney character, which was whispering in the person's ear, in Pinocchio's ear. There's going to be that voice that's whispering in your ear. And if you feel that way, you are the only one in the planet that no, I'm just kidding. You're not alone. If you're a franchise broker or you're a development professional of some sort, helping people through these life choices and these career changes, this episode's going to help you better understand what your candidates are really going through. And this is so important, not just about making the placement or making a sale. This is so important about how best you can serve your candidates. So let's get started on this. Let's start just from the basics, I think. Where does self-doubt come from? I want you to know it's normal. It's human nature. It's okay. In franchise development, honestly, I see this all the time. People are excited one day, and then the second day, they're second guessing everything. So this self-doubt is coming from inexperience, for starters. Hey, I've never owned a business before. Well, 80% of the people we work with here at Franchise Building Expert never owned a business before. People naturally feel the fear of failure. What if I mess this up? But people at the end of life, are not regretful typically of what they've tried and failed at. They're more regretful of what they never tried. So, but fear of failure is a genuine reason for self-doubt. Comparison is another reason for self-doubt. Hey man, everybody else looks like they are more qualified than me to do this. And I can tell you that's a myth. That's wrong. People are probably not any more qualified than you are to step out and own your own business. And then another one is simply self-doubt comes from a lot of pressure. What will my family or my friends, the circles that I travel in, what are they going to think if this doesn't work out? So self-doubt isn't always about a lack of confidence in the franchise itself, if you're looking at franchises, or even in the type of business you're thinking of starting. Honestly, it's often about a lack of confidence in yourself. Really important. This is so why I teach anybody in the broker, career coaching, franchise development space. I talk a lot about the candidate's emotions. I think we need to talk 80% of our conversations need to be around how they're feeling, their self-confidence, any doubts that they're having. Instead, we spend 80% of our time on the franchise, on the business itself. That's all about logic. And while I have other episodes where we talk in depth about this, the reality is people make decisions mostly on emotion, but they need the logic to kind of back it up, to firm it up, to give it a foundation for making sense in the long run. So if you're, again, you're a broker and you're listening to this, this is the undercurrent of most of your conversations. If you don't spot it, you might misinterpret a person's hesitancy to be that they don't like a brand. So you may rush to show them other brands. You might just think they've lost interest. But I can tell you, while it's very frustrating and perplexing, I can tell you that even when they seem to love the brands you're showing, the brands go, hey, wow, this is a great candidate. He seems to really, really like what he's seeing. The reality is that it's not about the franchise. It's about their own self-confidence, if you will. So let me talk now, and let me just shift gears into another segment of the episode today. And we'll just talk about the myths around this self-confidence, the myths around, say that 5 times fast, the myths around successful business people, business owners in particular, around successful franchisee. It's not that they had a lot of confidence when they started. They really didn't, and that's the myth. What they had was what I mentioned earlier about they had courage to move forward. Courage is not confidence. Successful people had questions when they first got started. They had some fear. Again, it's human nature, it's natural, but they just moved forward anyway. Confidence comes after you take the action, not before. And for buyers of franchises in particular, business starters, this is a mindset shift. And this is going to make all the difference in the world for you being successful. You're not going to have it all figured out when you first start, and that's okay. Again, for guys in particular, sometimes that's really a big deal. Is not having everything all figured out. But it's okay. You're not going to have that. But particularly if you go the franchise route, what's going to happen is you're going to see all types of support around you. And it's not only going to be support actually in operating, training you on how to operate the business or in operating the business itself, although you'll get that. What I'm talking about is just the encouragement that you'll not only get from the franchisor, but you're going to get a lot of encouragement from the community that you join, from the franchise community that you join. All right, let me shift over now. Let's get really practical. And this is going to help you whether you start a business or not, whether you buy a franchise or not. These are just going to be practical tips overall in your life on how to increase or build your confidence. So, in particular, again, if you're helping people make these decisions and you see one of your candidates, one of your clients stuck, there is a self-doubt loop, if you will, and you can help them move forward, and you individually can help yourself move forward. So I want to tell you that there's 5 really practical keys here, or practical ways that you can do this. And that's what we want to talk about. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right, so that's what I want to talk about. First one is going to be learn by asking. I say it pretty regularly, and that is that I believe knowledge is the antidote to fear. And so we gain knowledge by asking. We learn by asking. A lot of commentary and presentations and things I've sat in over the years about the quality of our questions. So learn to ask good questions. One of the things you're going to get to do, we talked about this last episode, one of the things you're going to get to do is you're going to get to talk, if you're in the franchise setting, you're going to, at a certain place in the discovery process, you're going to get to talk to to franchisees, people that have been through the process you're going through, made the decision to move forward. And now you're going to be able to find out, was it a good decision? What did you not think of? How is it going? Is it what you thought it was going to be? Those kinds of things. So you're going to be able to learn more and build your confidence by asking. Second thing is you want to understand the support that you're going to get. And this is one of the big differences in buying a franchise or going it alone. And if I don't get to say it later on in this episode, if this is the first time you're looking at stepping out on your own, I strongly encourage you to do it in a franchise concept. We just don't realize how much is part of a going concern when we're an employee. However, when we have to start that business ourselves or start a business ourselves, how much really goes into it has to be built there to really be successful at it. And the franchise is going to give you that, plus train you how to do it, plus give you ongoing support. So be clear, get clarity from that franchisor as to what the support looks like. Again, you're going to get it from the franchisor, but you're also going to have that camaraderie and sounding boards and these kinds of things from being in a network where there's other people speaking the same kind of corporate language as you do and doing the same thing that you do. Also, one of the keys you can do, and one of the ways to increase your self-doubt, is to focus on strengths, not just on gaps. Don't obsess over what you don't know. Leverage what you do know. Leverage the things you can do. So what skills do you bring? If you're the buyer listening and you're working, work with someone who's going to pull those strengths out of you, like a qualified franchise consultant, like franchise building expert. They're going to match you with brands that leverage your strengths and don't you don't align with any of the gaps. So focus on your strengths. Do you have drive? Do you have a real hunger to succeed? Do you have leadership skills? We teach leadership when we do training programs for franchisees inside the franchise systems. One of the things they don't realize, they have a small team of only, maybe 3 or 4 people. They're all part-time, or all but one is part-time. They don't realize you still have to lead that small team. You still have to have leadership skills. So that could be one of your strengths. A fourth way to gain confidence over any self-doubts is to visualize a day in the life of being the business owner, being the franchise owner. Picture yourself running the business as consultants, as Fran Dev reps. You have to help your candidates paint the picture of the future. What is it going to look like? Again, as I talked about earlier, you're going to get this opportunity to talk to franchisees. So that's going to be a huge step and benefit to you in this visualization of what is it like to really own this business. But that's what you want to do. That's one of the things that's going to gain you confidence. You'll be able to talk through any concerns you have about operating the business. You can throw up roadblocks that you think you're going to face and get those sorted out. But as I shared in the previous episode, this is a very big piece of purchasing a franchise, is this opportunity to talk to the franchisees who will help you visualize what it looks like to a day in the life of them owning the business. And then the fifth thing on building your self-confidence and reducing your self-doubt is just look at the next step. Don't look at this massive, oh my gosh, it's a 6-figure investment and I've never had to do anything like that before. and oh my gosh, where am I going to get the money and how am I? Don't look at all of that stuff. Look at step by step. Don't get obsessed by the big picture of all of this. Just look at what's the next step. What's the next conversation you have to have? What's the next bit of research that you've got to do? That's really where you want to stay focused. And this is going to step by step, phase by phase, is going to help you gain confidence in potentially making the decision of being your own boss and starting a business. All right, now shift over. Today's episode, this whole series is really focused on the consumer, the buyer, the one who wants to start a business or possibly buy a franchise. But if you're a broker, again, I hope you've been paying attention, because you can learn by what your candidates, your clients are thinking. As you learn that, you can help serve them better. But here, this last couple of minutes I want to spend on is for the brokers. It's for the development reps. And this is what you guys need to know, or that you gals need to know. And if you get nothing at all out of this episode but this, I want you to know that your candidates aren't just evaluating the brands you show them, or if you are the brand rep, they're actually evaluating themselves. Let me say that over again. Your candidates aren't just evaluating the brand, they're evaluating themselves. So your job as their advisor, your job as the rep who's guiding them through the journey of investigating your specific brand, your job isn't to explain the opportunity, or isn't solely to explain the opportunity. That's logic. That's only a portion, the smaller portion of what you need to be doing. It's only the smaller portion of what your candidates need. Your job is to walk alongside them as they process what they're going through, as they gain knowledge. You want to ask them and you want to work with them. Are they a business owner? Do they have that mindset? Or are they paycheck to paycheck? You want to help them think through, can they live up to that role? You want to help paint the picture of the ones who can. You want them to see that picture and to visualize themselves. So again, as the friend dev rep, or as the broker consultant, there's three things that you can do specifically to serve them better, to help them really the way that they need your help. First of all, you want to normalize self-doubt. I've said it a couple of times here, said it in the last episode. You have to let them know it's okay to have some fear. You have to say things like, a lot of successful franchisees felt exactly as you do right now. I always say, and I teach, again, if you've been around me, you've heard me say this, and I teach, you want to give them permission to have fear. Give them permission to have some anxiety about this. And again, not to be sexist or anything, but I really think this is a bigger problem for men. Men want to be macho. They think they have everything under control. They don't want to show any weakness. They don't want to show any hesitancy or any doubts. Again, but you've got to help them feel like they're normal when they have these feelings of doubt or anxiety and fear. A second thing is we just have to continue to point to the support. And this is definitely a differentiator if you're looking at starting a business and you're thinking about starting it on your own. But consultants, brokers, friend dev reps, you got to talk about why franchising is so great, dramatically increases the probability of their success. You want to point to the ways that happens, and support is really, really key. So remind them that they're not alone. They get training and support from the franchisor. Remind them that they're joining almost a family, a network of people doing the same things as they'll be doing, and that's good. That alone is going to give them support. So consultants point to the support, let them know that doubt is natural. A third thing is you want to affirm their strengths. Again, particularly if you're the broker, you want to be continually in the process reinforcing why you match them to certain brands. Sometimes they need someone else really just to again, to reinforce, to affirm that this is the right thing to do, but you've got to give them, this is the time where the logic comes in. You've got to point to the strengths that you saw and the reasons that you match them to a particular brand. And then lastly, consultants and development reps, you want to encourage them to have confidence in the process that you're taking them through. This is a process where they're going to learn. This is a process where they're going to gather the knowledge to make a good decision. Again, particularly brokers, your advisors, you're that neutral outside set of eyes and ears. You have to continually be telling them to have confidence. You've done it. You're part of a large organization that has a system and the forms and processes and so on. You just have to continually be reinforcing that they're going to gain the knowledge that'll help them make a great decision for them. All right, so last thoughts. I just want to tell you that thinking about making the leap into franchise ownership, I want to reinforce a couple of things we talked about. You don't have to have it all figured out. In fact, the reality is you won't. So if that's what you're going for, you're going to be frustrated and you'll probably not move forward. But get enough information, have confidence in the process, have confidence in your advisor, your franchise broker, have confidence that they've taken you through a step-by-step process, that they've matched you to the right brands, and you have thoroughly vetted those brands. Another thing is that the people who build successful businesses, they aren't fearless, and don't make that comparison and simply think that, well, man, I am just not fearless like Bob is. But they're faithful. They keep showing up. They ask for help. You got to be willing to ask for help. And then they do what's right based on the information that they have and the learnings and the trainings that they have. And then to my broker friends, my franchise development reps specifically, you know what? You have a front row seat to transformation. It's just incredible to me, the what we do as brokers, as consultants, and the fulfillment that we can get, that impact that we can be making. So don't miss the chance to really help someone believe that this is possible. That's just critical. That's part of what we have to do. Help them to the best of your ability by helping them evaluate themselves in this and get over the fear and the self-doubt that's holding them back from achieving their dreams. All right. Hey, this is Don. Final thoughts on this episode of Franchise Pitfalls and Profits. Hey, if you like what's going on here, please subscribe to the YouTube. Give us some likes. Give us some comments. Just really, really pleased to be able to bring this series to you, focused for the buyers, but a lot that you developers and brokers can learn along the way as well.